Welcome to Abstract Audio, the podcast presenting life as an abstract art form. The show that encourages you to perceive beyond the tangible, to extract the infinite from the finite, to see with the mind what you cannot physically see with the eyes. Oh, it's an emancipation. It's an exploration into areas usually overlooked. Explore with me on today's episode. How goes it, Pod Pals? You found your way to yet another episode of the Abstract Audio Podcast. That's right. If you were lost before, you're found now. Found by a community of abstract thinkers and a host with nothing better to do. She is me, I am her, and I go by the name of Enrich. So quick check-in. It's episode 5, the 5th month of the year, and it's so nice to see all of your beautiful faces. Well, it's nice to imagine seeing them. But we all know how powerful imagination can be by now, right? So over the last few episodes, we've actually talked about everything from imagining and creating our own individual worldly realities to not seeing the world at all. Last episode even touched on how losing in one sense of the word can mean gaining in another. So knowing what we know now, how can we navigate that contrast? Well, I'm curious, so let's dive into a conversation exploring whether it's better to have had and lost than to never have had at all. The topic this week, ignorance and bliss. So we've all heard the phrase, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's a sentiment that encourages us to embrace the highs and lows of life, suggesting that experiencing something, even if it ends in loss, is preferable to never having experienced it at all. But is that always the case? Is there any true merit to the idea that ignorance can indeed be bliss? That by not knowing what you're missing, you might actually lead a more contented life. First, let's explore what ignorance is bliss really means. This phrase suggests that not knowing about something unpleasant can lead to happiness or peace of mind. And y'all know what I'm talking about, okay? People often avoid checking their bank accounts after going out of town for the weekend, or avoid going to the doctor when they think something might be wrong. The idea basically breaks down to, if you don't know about it, you can't worry about it. But when we apply this to experiences and emotions, the question becomes, if you've never had something, can you truly miss it? If you've never fallen in love, felt the thrill of adventure or tasted the sweetness of success, can you feel the pangs of loss? Ignorance, in this sense, kind of shields us from that pain by never allowing us to experience the joy in the first place. Seeing other people have something you don't, though, definitely contributes to that FOMO that everybody's so familiar with. But let's take other people out of the equation for a minute. Because if you know that something exists, you know you're missing out, so that's not complete ignorance, right? But in all my 28 years of living, I've noticed something. Even in true ignorance, there's often an inexplicable feeling of missing something, right? It's not FOMO, but it's like an itch you can't scratch, a sense that something is absent, even if you can't quite name it. This phenomenon can be linked to the concept of existential longing, or Sehnsucht, a German term that describes an intense, almost painful yearning for something indefinite or unattainable. To me, even if you've never experienced certain joys, you might still feel a deep-seated yearning for them, right? And hey, this might actually be a fundamental part of our human condition. Our awareness of what could be. It's almost as if we're wired to long for more, to seek out experiences that complete the puzzles of our hearts and minds, even if we can't fully articulate what those pieces are sometimes. Maybe that's what kept humanity going all this time, who knows? It is funny though, because nostalgia also plays a crucial role here. And I don't have to tell y'all, but it's that powerful bittersweet emotion that often involves a longing for the past. I know all my 90s kids feel me on this one. Orange cassette tapes. It's like even if the past wasn't objectively better, the way we remember it often is. This selective memory can paint our experiences with a rose-colored tint, making us yearn for something we once had or lost, even if it wasn't all that. That's another 90s reference for you. But memory can kind of be a tricky thing, right? It's not a perfect recording of events, but more like a reconstruction that's subject to change every time we recall it. This means our memories can grow fonder over time, making us miss past experiences even more intensely. But if we never had these experiences to begin with, we might be free from this emotional weight altogether. I mean, it's true. Having had and lost carries a particular weight. It can bring profound joy, but also really deep sadness. For example, the experience of a first love can be exhilarating, but the heartbreak that comes with it can be equally devastating. Those highs and lows shape who we are, though, often making us more resilient and understanding of life's complexities. Yet, they also leave scars and memories that can haunt us forever. Would someone who never fell in love be spared from the pain of heartbreak? Absolutely, of course. But they would also miss out on the thrill of those first butterflies, the joy of mutual connection, and the personal growth that comes from navigating love's challenges. It turns into this kind of trade-off between joy and pain. Speaking of pain, one thing I've always found really interesting is that phantom limb phenomenon. You might have heard of it. It's what happens when someone loses a limb, but can still kind of feel it from time to time. Spooky, huh? It's like not just your mind remembers when times were better or different, but your body does too. But with so much centered on looking backwards, what about looking forward? The experiences we have and lose often leave us with this sense of hope and anticipation for the future too. I mean, they show us what's possible, fueling our dreams and aspirations. Okay, for example, a person who's experienced love is probably going to be motivated to find it again. And now they actually understand what they're looking for, which can guide their actions and decisions. On the flip side, someone who never really experienced it might lack this motivation. I mean, they might be content and happy, but if you ask me, their life would lack this kind of vibrancy and depth that comes with having experienced and lost. It's like never having tasted chocolate. You might not miss it because you don't know what it's like, but you also would be missing out on the unique, creamy deliciousness. And s'mores. Imagine never having had a s'more. Like, come on now. All right, so if the food metaphors aren't doing it for you, let's take a comparative perspective for a second, okay? So let's say we have two people. One who has had rich experiences and faced subsequent losses, and another who's lived a more sheltered but pain-free life. While the first person might carry the weight of their experiences, with both happiness and sadness shaping their worldview, they still tasted the full spectrum of human emotion. The second person, while potentially content, might lack the depth of perspective that comes with navigating life's ups and downs. Their contentment might be unblemished by pain, but it's also unenhanced by joy. They might not know what they're missing, but is that truly a better way to live? In our modern society nowadays, we often idolize happiness and try to avoid pain at all costs. But it's a combination of both that makes our lives meaningful. As we said in the last few episodes, some people are out here searching for meaning any way they know how, right? Through being seen or through relationships or plenty other bullshit. And some people are just content not searching at all. Which person do you think has it more together? Which one's happier? I mean, there are plenty of non-people of color out here walking around unintentionally or willfully ignorant to minority issues, for example. And that might make them happier to do so, but in being less informed on the issues, they're really more out of touch with reality. Then again, we make our own realities, and we just talked last episode about filtering what we take in to protect that peace, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, okay, ignorance might bring a certain kind of bliss, but it's pretty shallow compared to the depth of understanding and emotional richness that comes from having lived fully, asked all the questions, and taken all the risks and gotten the reward. I mean, if you want to talk about risks and rewards, though, give season 1, episode 4 a listen. It's a fun one, I promise. Reflecting personally, I can think of plenty of times when I've experienced really great joy, followed by significant loss. It's almost like you get to a point where you can't even enjoy something because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And in the moment, it's easy to wish I had never experienced that joy to begin with, because the pain of absence can be so overwhelming. But as time passes, I realize that those experiences, both those highs and lows, have contributed to who I am today. They taught me resilience and given me deeper appreciation for the good times. Going through tough shit, whether it be loss or anything else in life, builds qualities in us that are essential for navigating those hard and complex areas of human relationships and personal growth. On the other hand, I can definitely understand the appeal of a simpler, less tumultuous life, right? Though, to be honest, I do like a little chaos. Hey, don't judge me. I just like my drink shaken, not stirred. That was a metaphor. I don't really drink. But the point is, sometimes the thought of a steady, untroubled existence sounds incredibly appealing. Free from the ups and downs that can be so exhausting. Getting off the roller coaster can be tempting, but also so boring. If I'm the main character of my life, I need a damn good storyline. I guess we can blame the media for kind of putting that idea in our heads though, right? Hey, it's true. The media often glorifies the idea of this kind of a tumultuous life, don't they? Classic stories of love, adventure, and tragedy resonate with us because they reflect our deepest desires and fears. Just think of the timeless tales of Shakespeare, the novels of Jane Austen, or the epic journeys on even movies and TV shows. They all place so much value on rich, painful experiences. These stories touch us because they mirror our own lives, making us feel understood, seen, and less alone in our struggles. Just another example of art imitating life, I guess. I'm not saying art can't hurt, right? The saying, no pain, no gain didn't come from nowhere. It's often true. And if you really want to talk pain, check out season 1, episode 18. But literally, some of the best art is made out of the worst experiences. It's why so many artists are such fucked up, tortured souls. But they're able to take that pain and make it into something beautiful. And I've said this before, but that's another reason I feel so strongly about tattoos. The process of taking that pain, managing it, and transmuting it is something so magical to me. I'm not completely delusional here, okay? Of course I know a magical, beautiful, even life would be everyone's ideal. But when you think about it, even in the Bible, Adam and Eve had that garden that was supposedly perfect, but they still wanted more. They didn't know any better or any worse. They were ignorant, but they still longed for knowledge. Guys, when you realize the universe is already perfectly balanced chaos, it starts to make so much more sense as to why our lives would follow suit. So do I still think ignorance is bliss? Well, that depends. Did you know that subscribing to us on YouTube sets you up to take all this incredible content in? Or are you missing out? If you are, it's not too late to find your bliss here with us. Be sure to visit us online at theabstractaudioshow.com to stay up to date and in the loop. Follow us on all the socials while you're there, and don't forget, always appreciate the abstract in your life.